Welcome to the Sponsored Rider Club podcast, your guide to motorsports sponsorship. Here's your host, Josh Weesey.
Welcome to this episode of the Sponsored Rider Club podcast, which is powered by 4 Wheel Parts. Today, I've got Ferenc Elekes of Overland site on here, and when I talk about overlanding, until I interviewed him, I guess I didn't really know how extreme it could be. So I won't give you too many details at this point. Get in the interview, you'll figure out what I'm talking about very quickly. So very exciting show. We get into a lot of details about websites and how to promote websites, how to use different social media that we haven't really talked about before. So it was a pretty good episode overall. Before I get into the show though, with Ferenc, I do want to tell you a little bit about 4 Wheel Parts. If you're listening to this show the day it released, which is Halloween Day, 4 Wheel Parts is running a deal right now. It's a Halloween sale, and it's 10% off orders over $500. All you got to do is use the offer code SPOOKY, which I think is pretty funny. But SPOOKY, I think it's all capitals, the way it's spelled out. It's online only, so you can't call in for this order, but, that's pretty big. 10% off of an order over $500 is pretty significant. So either way, check that out. I think that's pretty awesome. They got other deals and stuff going on right now too. I will just highlight again, they still have some of the limited edition 4 Wheel Parts Dixon flannels available, which I think are pretty awesome. So yeah, check those things out. Let me know if you ever got questions about there. And kind of a tip too that I've been sharing with folks on here. If you go in to 4 Wheel Parts and you add things to your cart, and you don't actually buy them, and let's say you're signed up for some sort of email subscription or something, they'll tell you an email later, hey, you still got these parts in here, you gonna do anything with them? Here's 5% off. So I will just give you that little tip. If that extra 5% off makes a difference for you, a lot of times they will just throw it in there, and it's pretty awesome. So either way, I do want to tell you a couple more things about the show. Head over to Apple Podcasts and leave that rating and review. That would be awesome. I basically beg people to do this. I don't tell you what rating to put on, but let's be honest. Right now we've only had 5-star ratings to this point, and I like that. I like to keep it that way, but I really want your honest feedback. Head over to Apple Podcasts, leave that rating review. It's a big deal for exposure for the show, so please do that. And then reach out to me if you ever have questions about how to do that, because honestly, people struggle with how to leave the ratings and reviews on Apple Podcasts. And you can do the same on other platforms too, just the Apple one, that's where so many listeners are at, and it's the biggest deal for a podcast promotion standpoint. So that's very important. And then whatever podcast player you use, go ahead, hit that subscribe button. That way you don't miss any upcoming shows. I want to do a couple of quick shout outs here to the other partners that support the show. AMSOIL, they provide amazing lubrication products, and they're a company that runs on freedom. You can find out more at amsoil.com/rider. SolderWeld, they produce game-changing metabonding technology, and they're ready to rescue your race. They will be at SEMA as well with me. I will not be in their booth. I'm going to be at the Eaton booth, the Eaton Performance booth. So you can find me there if you're at SEMA. One note too, if you're there and you are running an Eaton product, a differential or a supercharger, Magnuson superchargers, for example, run Eaton rotating groups. Let me know ahead of time or during the show about it, and there's a potential that we could interview you as part of Eaton for a testimonial. We'd love to know why you picked that product. So hit me up. I'm going to be doing some of those interviews while we're there. So you can send me a message, josh@sponsoredriderclubpodcast.com, and I can come find you there, or I'll send one of my other Eaton partners over to find you at SEMA, and we can get a little interview there. So, but yeah, and feel free to stop by the SolderWeld booth too. They will be there. TopToPodium.com, they're experts in motorsports sponsorship and website creation. Bold Racing, they're a family desert UTV race team. Crash Act Industries, they provide human protection and extreme racing products, and they got some cool stuff in the works. I can't wait to start sharing their future adventures, but right now, it's under lock and key, but some good stuff coming there. And I also want to shout out some of our other partners, MBRP, HMK USA, Studboy Traction, and High Octane Coffee. And speaking of High Octane Coffee, Joe Sylvester is up next. He is going to talk about a little tidbit of information, what we like to call it, the High Octane Coffee Marketing Tune-Up. So stay tuned for that. And then also head over to his Instagram, Joe Sylvester, or at High Octane Coffee, and you'll see pictures of his new monster truck build, which he's been kind of giving snapshots here and there. You've not seen the whole truck yet, but it will be at SEMA. The whole truck will. But it is looking pretty cool. If you like the old, body Fords back in the late 70s, which I love, you're going to like this truck. So either way, we'll get into that marketing tune-up with Joe Sylvester right now, and then we'll get into the show.
What's up, guys? Joe Sylvester here with your High Octane Coffee marketing tune-up of the day. Today I want to talk about sponsor attraction. Sponsor attraction, to me, is a much better tactic than quote-unquote sponsor hunting. You want to build your brand. You want to establish yourself in the racing community and in the marketing realm of things. And, as a respected individual, as a professional, you don't want to just keep knocking on doors and hoping somebody answers. You want the sponsors to come to you. That is the most ideal situation for you to be in, and it's the most ideal situation for them. Believe it or not, companies do have, people that work for them or even owners of companies. They take notice on social media. They see what's going on, and they see the brands. They see the people that stand out. Make yourself stand out from the rest. Be very active on social media. Be very active with your press releases. Try to grow your email database. And like I said, build your brand. Make your brand something that a company would be proud to be associated with. And like I said, when they come to you, it's a much better feeling than sitting there all night long sending out 100 emails. I know this from experience. Trust me.
I'm pumped today. You'll understand why in a minute. But our featured guest is Ferenc Elekes. No, I'm saying it again. I'm gonna say it right this time because I'm gonna look at my notes because I actually looked at the word and not my notes. Ferenc Elekes. Did I get it right that time?
You did, yes.
But it wasn't perfect. I did it perfect in the pre-interview, but it wasn't perfect that time.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you for having me on the show.
So you're part of Overland site, and I really would love you to kind of kick us off with an intro about yourself and about Overland site.
Right. Yes. So I'm the founder of Overland site, and basically we'd like to be a website for overlanders to go to for inspiration, for information, for guidance. Maybe we gained a lot of experience in this field in the last sort of 3 years, and I just want to put it all up there and share it, and then hopefully people get inspired, and maybe some people who have less experience, maybe they can learn some stuff. And obviously I'm learning all the time. I'm reading about this all the time. I'm doing it full time, basically. So that's what I'd like to do. And the major things that I've done in this field is basically drove on 3 continents so far, done major overland trips, lived in my vehicle along with my girlfriend Evelyn for about a year. And now this was 2018, and done major trips before that as well. But sort of 2018 was a full-time overland year. And now we're doing smaller trips this year, and then next year we're back into it full-time again.
Awesome. And by smaller trips, you mean like 3 months or something, right?
Well, not necessarily 3 months, but like 5,000 miles, and maybe we've done it in 3 weeks or
okay, I see,
or something like that. But yeah, not necessarily 6 months to 8 months kind of a major trip.
Yeah, first off, that's awesome. Like it's crazy. Do you even have home? Like, do you have a place you call home right now, or is home just your truck? Yes,
we do. We live in Budapest, Hungary.
Oh, okay. So you're at home now.
I am right now.
Nice.
Yes.
Nice. That was going to be why I was super excited, because, I mean, we talked a little bit in the pre-interview, but I've only ever done with this show, and by the way, this is episode 191. I've only ever done one other interview overseas, and they that person, Christine GZ, is what she goes by. She comes and races in the United States a lot of times, but she was in Barcelona at the time. So this is the only other overseas interview I've ever done. So
awesome.
I know.
Awesome. I'd like to be the other guy who's also from overseas.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
so I think that's really cool, and definitely not from Hungary, which is awesome. And honestly, what I'm really excited about is how we ended up connecting. I love sharing stories of like random connections. So in this one, Evelyn reached out to me through my website, and said, "Hey, look, I listened to the Trail Recon podcast, which is with Brad Kowitz. I think it was like episode 130 something." And she was like, "Hey, we just basically we've done a write up on the Rubicon Trail. I wonder if your audience would like that. Here's a link. Check it out. Let us know your thoughts." And my response was like, "Want to come on the show?" And that's kind of how we got here. And she's like, "I think that would be a good one for my partner here." And because from what I understand, you're kind of like the business side of things for this whole deal. So so I just love how those things happen.
And I'm glad you mentioned the Trail Recon, because that's a great YouTube channel. I'm watching it all the time. You can learn a lot from that.
Yeah, that's I had Brad on the show here, and he's connected me. It's kind of weird. I wasn't even thinking of this, but yeah, Brad's connected me with I think 4 or 5 other guests now, whether it's on purpose or on accident. This time it was kind of an accident. But yeah, I just love how that kind of happens. And yeah, he's got a really cool channel. I follow him, and similar like some of the stuff you do, you can learn from it. And he makes it comfortable, I guess, for people to get into overlanding.
Yeah.
It makes you feel a little bit safer. I remember I watched one of his shows that was introduction to off-roading, and it was very basic stuff, but you forget that not everybody knows the basic stuff.
Makes it very easy to understand and very easy to follow, like what he does. Also, I'd like the mechanical advice that he does. Like, you can literally watch him replace parts on his truck and just learn. And I need that. My background is law, so I have nothing to do with mechanics and other than really, really interested in cars. I'm not a mechanic, or I can't actually fix a car. Yeah.
Well, we're actually going to talk a lot more about your background in a quick second. I want to make one more little comment about the Rubicon Trail post that you have. That's similar, where it kind of walks you through everything you might need to go down that trail. Because I went through, I don't know if I read every part of it. I don't remember like 99% of what I do in my life. But I know I read through it, and I was like, okay, I get it. Like, this is kind of breaking things down for me. For me, I would go back and read it before hitting the Rubicon Trail, like take some notes, and like, all right, I'm ready to roll now, because it's kind of a pretty simple
That was
guide.
the goal, yeah.
Yeah, so that's good, and I like that stuff, and I think that's what that's one of the things sponsors like, especially if it's somebody who is trying to target that audience, meaning the the overland crowd, the kind of adventure seeker, off-roader. They want someone who's not been in the market to now enter the market. And what better way of getting somebody to enter the market than by removing, the fear factor of it, removing like the questions, and just say, here, this is how you do it. The easier it is for you to get in, more likely you're going to buy whatever it is, a tent, some tires, shocks. I mean, whatever they're trying to sell. So yeah, that's kind of what we're here to talk about. But I'd love to kind of dig deeper into your background. I want to know your story. Like, how'd you get into motorsports? How'd you get into what you're doing now? Let's go through all that.
Okay, no worries. So ever since I was a kid, I was really interested in cars. I wasn't reading about anything else, just cars and car races, watching races, reading about cars, looking at cars on the street. Just I was really, really interested in it as a kid. And then later, I got similarly passionate about travel. And the two things that I connected was basically overlanding. So that's basically traveling with a car, and you're independent. And I traveled the world before, just backpacking around on 5 continents before. And then in the last 5 years, sort of, I got into this overlanding phenomenon that is really growing in the whole world, and I just really like the two aspects of it, like travel and cars. So that's how I got into it, and I got this idea of, okay, why don't I write about it if I do it so much? Because I never really wrote about my travels before, and this was just a good opportunity to start it, and yeah, so that's how basically, and because with Evelyn we started traveling by car with our Toyota. Basically, it's a Land Cruiser, but I reckon in the United States it would be called the Lexus GX 470.
Okay. Yep.
And it's just a rebadged car, basically. I don't know which came first, but it's the same car essentially. It's the Toyota Land Cruiser 120, and we have a rooftop tent and all the gear that we need to be independent and just stop in anywhere basically, and spend a few nights anywhere. We have our 12-volt fridge, the rooftop tent, the gas cooker, all the stuff that you need. And we were on a 5,000-mile trip around Scandinavia in 2017, and on the way back we were already talking about driving to Singapore from Europe, which is, the reason why we came up with that route is because from where we live, you cannot really drive anywhere further without taking a ferry or put a car into a container.
Okay. Yep.
That was basically the furthest point I could think of, and I will circle back to an earlier story from this actually, but basically, we were talking on the way back home from the Scandinavian trip that we don't want to wait until the next summer, which was 2018 June, until we can actually set off on this trip. We need to do something before that, because there would be like a 6-month gap of not doing a major overland trip. And basically we were planning to quit our jobs and just overland full time for a year in 2018. Okay, but for different reasons, we couldn't start until June. I couldn't start on that trip at least until June. So we thought, okay, there is this thing called the Budapest Bamako Rally, which has been going on for like 15 years. And basically 2/3 of the participants are from outside Hungary, including the United States, Western Europe, South Americans. There's a lot of people who just fly to Budapest and ship their car or buy something locally and drive from Budapest to Northwest Africa somewhere. It's called the Budapest Bamako Rally, but the finish line is not always in Mali, Bamako. It's sometimes like for example, last year it was Banjul, the Gambia, and next year I think it's going to be Sierra Leone. But it's a great adventure going through the Sahara Desert, and some of the stages are from the old Paris-Dakar Rally, and it is just a really great adventure. So we basically signed up to do that in January and February. But I don't think I would have been able to sign up to this or even plan a trip like Budapest to Singapore if I didn't have experience before. So as I mentioned, I have a lot of experience traveling. But also in 2014, with two of my mates from London, I used to spend a lot of time in London, and with two of my friends, we actually joined another rally called the London Mongolia Charity Rally. And basically, the goal is to drive from London to Mongolia, totally independent, and in about a 3 weeks time or 4 weeks. It depends on how you want to do it, but not a very long time for such a distance. And we took a pickup truck and eventually broke down in Tajikistan. You go through the most unique and remotest countries you can imagine, coming from Europe, or even if you think about North America, you would think that like Tajikistan, why would you ever drive there, or Uzbekistan, or places like that? But they are fascinating places, absolutely interesting. And we drove through these countries, and from about 5 kilometers or 3 miles away from Afghanistan, we broke down.
Oh, no.
We broke down not for the first time. And we got the car fixed before, the truck fixed the previous day, I think, but it lasted for about 24 hours and we broke down again and couldn't fix it anymore. We couldn't find parts for it. So we had to actually sell the car right there and then to the owner of the guest house where we broke down, and we just hired the car with the driver and booked bus tickets or bought bus tickets and booked flights and stuff. So we made it to Mongolia eventually.
Yeah.
But through different means and stuff. So that was another adventure that I really, really think about a lot.
Yeah, that's awesome. I was watching a video earlier today, and it wasn't talking about overlanding. It was talking about Baja, just, destination traveling. And it wasn't necessarily overlanding, but one of the guys said this. He said one of the big rushes that he gets from doing these things is the fear or the concern that you might not make it, that you might break down. He said it's just this weird thing.
What? I had that feeling driving to Singapore, because I had this really bad feeling from 2014, because it was such a big blow for us with two of my friends that we didn't actually drive to Mongolia because we broke down in Tajikistan. And for the rest of the trip, we were kind of devastated. Like we were really keen to drive to Mongolia, and we didn't. We eventually hired a car in Mongolia and then drove around for 5 or 6 days, and then we had to fly back to work. But it was kind of a sad moment when we had to leave the car, because we were so independent. We were really happy, just 3 guys driving through the desert and through the mountain passes and all those places. And it was kind of a really cool adventure. And then and we just had to leave the car in a village, and because of that memory, when we entered Mongolia last year with Evelyn, I was just so relieved. Like finally, I could drive to Mongolia, and obviously then we drove the same distance again until Singapore, so we made it. But every time we had a mechanical problem, which we did a few times, I was a bit of I was scared a little bit. Like,
oh yeah.
Okay.
It's funny. People may have heard me like pounding on my keyboard here a minute ago, but I pulled up a map, just Google Maps, and kind of like trying to, when you're saying a place, I'm trying to track it and see where I'm at. So I typed in, I just want to see what it would do. I typed in London and Mongolia for directions, and it's like no, we don't
get any?
No, it tells
okay.
you this is, sorry, your search appears to be outside our current coverage area for driving. I mean, if you just look at the map, like if you don't know where these places are, I get it. I get why Google can't map that. Like there's just, I don't know. So that's pretty cool. How did you even figure out a route for that? I mean, it seems pretty challenging.
It was very similar to what we've done last year, driving to Singapore, because, the thought process, because there's 2 major routes you can do. And if I talk about just until Mongolia, from Europe, so you can obviously drive through Russia, which is sort of the easier way, because the more border crossing you include, the longest it's going to take, and more bureaucracy, visas and everything else. But if you drive south, so basically south of the Black Sea towards Turkey, and then you have to decide, are you going to go south or north of the Caspian Sea?
Yeah.
And in 2014, we actually drove south, so we went through Iran.
Yeah, Iran.
To Iran, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, and then through Kyrgyzstan, and then we flew from Kyrgyzstan.
Just so everybody knows too, I don't actually know this route, but I'm following it on Google, right? So I'm like, Yeah, you're not lying. That's exactly the path that you would have to take.
Yeah, and
That's wild.
interestingly, if you travel through Central Asia, and obviously you meet, it's a small world when you're doing overlanding, you just realize how many other people are doing it. When you talk to people who've never done something like that, they think like, oh, this is such a unique, such a cool thing, and what an adventure. And then when you're doing it, you realize there's actually communities around this. You can actually meet people on the road doing the same thing as you're doing. And one of the sort of most frequently or most desired routes in Central Asia is the Pamir Highway, which is one of the highest roads in the world. And it goes through Tajikistan in the Pamir region. It's just absolutely beautiful. I mean, it's like 12,000. I think it goes through 12,000 feet mountain passes and multiple, and just absolutely stunning.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's awesome. Well, one last fun fact: for me to fly to see you, like if I were to leave right now, I'd be there in 14 hours. 14 hours, I can land in Budapest somewhere.
Yeah, you can. There used to be a direct flight to New York. I don't know why there isn't one now, but it's not that complicated to get here. Or there from here. Yeah, and also I guess I could call it overlanding, but in 2003 I've done a trip from basically the east coast of the U.S. From New Hampshire to Florida and back.
Oh, okay.
We were just with a friend of mine. We just bought this big estate wagon. I think it was a Mercury Sable.
Okay.
And just it was an old car by then as well. And, and just, done this classic road trip with all our bags in the back and just stopped in fast food places and slept in the car next to police stations. And it was awesome.
That is pretty awesome. I can picture a Mercury Sable too. Yeah, that's fun. And okay. Well, before I start getting into my Mercury Sable stories, no, I don't really have any Mercury Sable stories. Well, that was great. I think it helped us kind of better understand, your background, some things you've done. Before we move on to our sponsor segment here and then the main event, I'd love to know who are some of like your partners that you're working with right now, the sponsors that have kind of helped you do these crazy adventures.
Sure. We've got supporters, as in companies and brands that support us. Mainly, I'm really, really grateful they support us. But I have to say I'm sponsoring myself like 99%.
Oh yeah.
and then 1% is basically product support. So when you're doing a trip like this, there's a lot of gear that you need. And if you want, I can get into the process later, that how I got in touch with them. And
exactly.
Else. But basically, the major sponsors, there's a 4x4 parts supplier, which is really big in Europe. They're called the Euro 4x4 Parts.
Okay.
And that's their brand and that's their website. And they are really big, and especially big in France and Belgium. And the other one is Laser Lights, I have to mention, which are basically an LED light manufacturer and brand, and they are really, really big in motorsports as well, Laser Lights. And also some camping equipment manufacturers like Walkstool. So we have several little sponsors. Like the list is quite long, but so none of them actually, it's not like I can quit my working life forever and leave a sponsorship. Yeah.
And so your website too, just in case people want to look at that, I think it's overlandsite.com. Is that right?
That's correct. Yes.
I was just going to pull it up because you've got a number of things listed on there too, if anybody wanted to go check it out. But I was wondering, I thought you might have had do you have a spot on here that says like some of your partners by chance?
No, I don't. Because there is a few articles where I mention them.
Yeah.
And so there's not like a partner page as such.
Yeah, I got you.
But I
there's
actually
one of these
specifically
articles,
write about them.
There's one of these articles, rooftop tents versus ground tents, and it's a guide, and there's information on here.
Yeah.
Side comparisons, which is
so if cool. There is stuff like, for example, just to mention something like, when you're on the road, you need something, a gear to wash your clothes, for example, and we have the Scrubber Wash Bag sponsoring us. Basically, they sent us one of their products, which is great on the road, and you can just put your stuff in that, and without you getting wet, you can wash your clothes. That's the product.
Right.
And I just wrote an article about it, like detailing how you can use the product and linking to them, just basically advertising their product. So I don't necessarily say, okay, look, these guys are sponsoring us and so that we can travel, but I say, look, this is a great product, we're using it, and this is how you do it.
Yeah, I mean, that's like pure influencer marketing. Hey, try this out. Tell us your honest review. I think that's great. So I wanted to give people like an understanding of some of the ways that you work with these companies too before we get into that in the next section.
Right. And there's also there's a few. If you go on the website and then you look, okay, there is actually 6 different winch brands that I mentioned. Now, obviously, I don't own 6 different winches, but I got in touch with 6 different people who own those winches, and I asked their opinion about it, and then I put it all together in one article. So that's how it works.
Yeah,
with some of the articles.
Perfect. Well, good. Well, I'm going to take a quick minute to thank the sponsors for this podcast, and then we'll get into the real content of this show, where we talk about some of the tactics and strategies around sponsorship.
Hey guys, George Hamill here to talk about SolderWeld's new off-road repair kit. If you're a racer of any type or an off-road enthusiast like myself, you're going to want to take a close look at this product that bonds metal on the spot. SolderWeld has combined some of their most elite products into one small kit that fits perfectly under your seat or strapped to a roll cage and allows you to make some insane fixes anywhere you go. How many of us have been in a race or out on the trail and got a rock chip in a radiator or brake line? We have seen a top-tier desert race team at the 2019 Mint 400 taken out by a simple rock to the radiator. If they had an off-road repair kit on board, they could have been back up and running in just minutes. The kit includes everything you need to work on dirty aluminum, stainless steel, copper, and many other metals. SolderWeld's cutting-edge technology allows you to make these fixes with extremely low heat and incredibly high tensile strength, leaving you a lasting fix every time. Don't be that guy broke down on the side of the trail. Get your off-road repair kit today, and your friends will thank you.
Safety is our overriding priority. I hear it all the time, but I have to ask myself, is it though? Is that the first thing we think of? Is that the first thing you think of? Over the past couple of years, we've seen the performance of production UTVs increase, somewhere around 350%. That means these machines give us a lot more opportunity to have fun and win races, but it also, unfortunately, gives us new opportunities to crash. And that's why we have partnered with Crash Addict Industries. The owner, Travis Pointer, became very accustomed to crashing early in his career. He saw it as inevitable, and he set out to make the process safer. With a passion for racing, welding, and engineering, Crash Addict Industries now produces full cage and other protection systems intentionally designed to protect you during an accident on the track. They also offer a line of human protection products through their vendors. Do this for me at this point. If you're racing with a stock cage right now, please go check out CrashAddict.com and at least just see what they have to offer. Even if you choose to go with a different company, please make safety your overriding priority. Let's talk about your truck for a minute. You can count on it to haul your vehicle and your gear to the track or to the trailhead, but I bet you never think about the motor oil. Here's why you should. Your oil is the only thing preventing your engine from wearing out and breaking down. To keep your truck running strong, look for an oil with added wear protection. Like, for example, AMSOIL Signature Series Synthetic Motor Oil. It delivers 75% more engine protection against horsepower loss and wear than is required by the leading industry standard. It provides the next level protection today's demanding engines need to keep running for years and to keep effortlessly towing your ride to the track. Go to amsoil.com/rider to find out more. Make the switch to AMSOIL Synthetic Motor Oil today to keep your vehicle running great. When I stop to think about all the things that make motorsports awesome, I think of camaraderie, I think of speed, I think of friendship, and I also think of family. And it's hard to go through all of those elements without thinking of Bold Racing. Now, Bold Racing and Jimmy Moore, the owner, has been a long time supporter of this show and Impact Fuel overall. Jimmy Moore is a desert racer that also has a ton of experience with suspension, UTV axles, and general go fastness. I would love for you to head over to their Facebook page, Bold Racing, or their Instagram page, bold.racing, and just show them some love. Let them know that you support their race program and you want to see them continue to promote the amazing elements of motorsports. 2 questions I get continuously about this show and about sponsorship is, do I need my own website and do I need a resume? The answer is, in my opinion, yes to both, and that's why we partner with TopThePodium.com. Now, if you want to see an example of what a professional website and what a professional resume looks like, you gotta check out TopThePodium.com. They did my website. The Sponsored Rider Club Podcast website is SponsoredRiderClubPodcast.com. That was created by Jeff Vanistall of TopThePodium.com. I think it's awesome. I get a lot of good feedback about it. And there's a number of other websites out there that Jeff has produced that are just phenomenal. So I think it's important in this world of social media where you have control of your content. That's what a website does. It gives you full control. We don't know what Facebook's going to do sometimes. We don't know what Instagram's going to do. We don't know what Twitter's going to do. So if we don't have that central location to direct people and house our content, there is some risk that we incur. So I strongly recommend getting a website, talking to TopThePodium.com. And then the resume, again, is massive. And if you want to stand out, get it done professionally. And honestly, it is one of the best ways to step up your game and present yourself in the best way possible. All right, well, welcome back, everybody. We are now in the main event. That's where we talk about sponsorship tactics and strategies. So, you know, in the background section, we kind of dug in and figured out, like, all right, why do we want to listen to this show? Like, what's the background here? What are people doing? Why are we here? Now we got that established, let's get into some of the nitty-gritty stuff. So I wanted to talk a little bit about content creation. We alluded to some of that in the last section here, but from your standpoint, I mean, what do you think are like the elements to creating engaging content? Because honestly, that's from the like this influencer marketer standpoint, that's what you're doing. That's what people are seeing. You're out in the middle of nowhere most of the time where you're not going to be seeing a ton of people. So it comes down to content creation. That's how other people get to see it. So tell us about that. What are the elements to creating the engaging content?
Okay, I think it's 2 parts. One of them is technical. The other one is let's say visual. So because we're traveling and we're traveling with a vehicle, it can be for any reader or anybody who's interested in the same kind of thing, it can be quite nice to see great photos or footage. So we are creating that. I'm really interested in photography, so I'm sort of keen to learn how to take better photos and then how to edit them. And when you're out in the Gobi Desert, it's really easy to take really great photos.
Yeah.
And obviously in many similar places as well. And I took a couple of courses on photography and also editing. And last year we really got into video creation as well, which I'm in the process of putting that together. We have tons of footage. We just have to put it all together in a presentable format. But basically, that's one part. I think the visuals, so either pictures or so photos or videos, you got to learn how to take better pictures than the average family photos that you take on a weekend or at a Christmas tree. Mm-hmm. So you gotta find your angles, the composition, the colors, and everything else.
Yeah, that's something I just want to break in and kind of highlight that real quick. I highly recommend people do something like that if you want to get, improve your social media content, your website content, or whatever. If you can take a class, that sounds great.
Yeah, because obviously, if you take part in some kind of a motocross race or some kind of an organized event, then there would be photographers around who take pictures of you, but you're not going to own those pictures. You're going to have to buy it off of that person, or maybe you get sent it, but you're not going to be able to use it on your website or stuff like that. But at least somebody's taking photos of you on those events. But if you're doing it on your own, you I don't know. In our case, we're traveling independently on our own. There's no photographer with us. We have to take our own photos and videos. So we did have to learn that. So that's one part.
One thing real quick too, hopefully I haven't lost the backcountry snowmobilers yet in this episode, because what backcountry snowmobilers do is pretty similar to what we're talking about right now, where you're usually out in the middle of nowhere, where the only person that can capture the content is you or whoever you're with. They need to have either your friend has the skill or you have the skill to capture the photos and capture content.
Yeah, and then what I realized is that you can see these YouTube videos blowing up, the ones that are good quality and a bit of nice content and great, well edited and just basically good quality footage. Those YouTube channels are really, really growing fast. And in the second half of last year, we got into creating videos a bit more than earlier. Like we took the effort of, okay, one of us is driving, the other one is standing outside in the rain and just waits for the car to go past and just gets the right angles. And there were several occasions where one of us slipped and got all muddy and wet and stuff just because of a good footage, a good picture,
right?
And then
which is the problem when you live in your car.
yeah. And then we have this handheld, radios, okay, like instructing each other, okay, you can go now. I'm rolling the camera, stuff like that. But you have to do that. So to circle back to content creation, you have to do that on your own, yourself, if you're doing something like that, like travel independently. So that's one part, I reckon, if you want to create good content that you can use later to attract sponsors. And the other part is you have to find out what your readers are searching for on Google or on the internet, and circle your content needs to be around it somehow. So you need to look on Google Trends. You need to look for, what is trending on social media. There's a few ways I'm still learning. Luckily, I know quite a few people who are managing websites, and I talk to them a lot about how they grow their audience, and they keep talking about keywords and keyword volumes and social media shares and numbers and stuff like that. So you're just gonna have to find out in whatever you're doing in your niche, what is your audience searching for, and then somehow create content around that. Not necessarily the same that everybody else is creating, but somehow you need to produce what people want. You can't just produce something that you like and you're interested in, because you might not find anybody else who's interested in that.
Right. Well, do you know enough to give us like kind of quick tutorial if people are wondering, well, how do I find out what people are searching for? I mean, is there a quick tutorial for that?
Yeah, the basics is there is tools on the internet that you can use. So one of them is Google Trends. This is all free. So there's paid tools. I'm using paid tools now because I want to sort of put enough effort and investment into it to grow it fast. But you can do it. I started with using free tools as well. So you can just search on Google for anything like free keyword research or free keyword research tool or something, and you will get a bunch of results and just use one of them. Maybe you will find a paid tool that is basically free for a certain amount of keywords, a day and stuff like that. Yeah. So you can use that. There's one called Keyword Tool. So kwtool.com or something like that. Anyway, just put keyword research tool free into your Google and you will find a bunch of results, and just start typing in keywords in your niche, and then the tool will then give you other ideas. Like maybe you're searching for, I don't know, ATV winches. You put that in your keyword tool in whatever you find, and I think that one of them is actually keywordtool.io. So you put that in, and
I'll try
the result.
So
the result will actually, the result page will give you other ideas. So maybe it's not ATV winch, but it will be UTV winch that people search for, or I don't know. It will give. So what I'm talking about is basically related keywords. So maybe you can't just come up with the keywords that people are looking for, but these tools will give you ideas that, okay, maybe not this, but that. So that's one of the things. And also Google Trends. If you also just literally Google Trends, you will, the first result must be the right website, and you can just see if whatever you're trying to target is actually a growing trend, and it will give you other ideas again. But whether it's, you will see if it's seasonal or not. So maybe it's not a great idea to write about snowmobiles in June,
Right.
Or tent heaters. You're not going to write about that in April.
Right. Yeah, so I just confirmed this. Keywordtool.io is one of them. And then it tells you how it works in here. Looks like there's a video that you could watch to better understand how it works.
Yeah.
And then, Google Trends as well. Same thing. Oh, it looks like Taylor Swift and Kim Kardashian, very popular to search in the past 7 days. So is World Cup.
There you go.
Yeah, that's pretty popular right now. So.
And just put keyword research in YouTube, and you will have a bunch of videos talking about this.
Yeah, no, that's great.
And then once you have the
really good stuff, keep going.
Yeah, and then once you have the keywords, then you can start thinking about, okay, how I'm going to write about this. Do I know enough about this, or do I need to contact somebody who does, and then talk to them and then write about it? There's a few ways to do it. But what I found is the only thing that works is it has to be great quality. You can't just have 300 words and then think that anybody's going to read that. And it might as well be 300 words, but it needs to be really relevant and really good quality, helping people with the information.
Yeah, so this is really valuable if you're a blogger or a vlogger, right? Where you're writing out your transcripts or a guide. Like a lot of what we talked about before, Overland site has a lot of guides, product reviews and things like that. Very, very helpful for that. I wonder if it helps with certain social media posts too, because I know when I Google things, sometimes I'll get it'll pull up a person's social media profile, which was unexpected for me. But I'm curious if you really understand and you write like these intricate posts on social media, if it would pull those out.
So what I found is, and I can obviously only talk about my perspective, but Facebook is not the best channel now, at least not nowadays, to spread the word about your brand.
Right.
But Instagram and Pinterest is.
Mm-hmm.
So Pinterest, I'm getting into Pinterest right now very much because apparently, and as I said, I'm yet to learn it, but apparently it's a really, really good tool to increase your traffic on your website, because it's basically Pinterest is basically a visual search engine.
Mm-hmm.
And if you create good content on Pinterest, that just attracts a lot of repins and reshares and whatever and whatnot, and people are going to end up on your website. And the other thing, what I found, and I had good traction on it, and I'm still having good traction, is Instagram, because and I think many of your listeners in the motorsport industry, all those hobbies or niches or professions around these are great on Instagram, because they're really visual. So Instagram is great. I think in about the last 10 months or so, we had 10,000 new followers on Instagram, and it just keeps growing and growing.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And the important thing is, don't know if you allow me to mention, but our Instagram is Overland site.
Yeah, that perfect.
But cut it out if I'm not allowed to mention.
No, you're definitely allowed to. That's what this is about. Take the time for some self-promotion. That's all good.
Okay, brilliant. So Instagram, the most relevant sort of method to grow, in my experience, is consistency. So don't post 5 photos today and nothing for a week, and then get a rash again and do 10 photos again. So do 2 or 3 every day, or do 1 a day, or do 1 every week. But you need to be consistent and regular.
Yeah,
stick to your sort of schedule.
Definitely. So that's been a recurring theme on this show when we talk about social media. Consistency is very important. The algorithms depend on that consistency as well. Not only do your followers, but the algorithms. Now, I couldn't tell you exactly how the algorithms work, and they do change quite a bit, but I do understand enough that consistency plays into that. So yeah, if you take a week off from a post and you typically post every day, then it's going to think that, forget this person. We're not going to we're not going to put their
goes down.
It does. It really does. They'll show it to less people. But one thing you just said, though, which I honestly do not think that anybody on the show has really brought this up before, is Pinterest. The folks on here are all over Instagram, like, no doubt. It's definitely the most popular platform in the motorsports world. But I have been intrigued by Pinterest, and I've never done anything with it myself. I'm really glad that you just brought that up as a way to drive traffic to a website.
I'm literally watching tutorials on it and trying to understand it. It's the social media platform that for me is a little bit of a unknown, and the Pinterest, I just don't, or at least in the last week or so, I doubled my knowledge on Pinterest because I really didn't understand how it works, and now I'm sort of having a grasp of how things work on Pinterest. And apparently, I don't know, some huge percentage of Pinterest users used to be women. Mm-hmm. So you might not think it's important in your niche if most of your followers are men, but this is changing now. So it's more men, more guys are starting to use Pinterest. So if you've been, anybody of your listeners been neglecting Pinterest before, now's the time to get into it, because it's getting big for men as well.
Yeah, I just pulled it up because I've seen it before, but I mean I've just doubled my knowledge of Pinterest in this conversation. I've seen it before, and I know my wife's on it, but I've not ever done anything with it, and I feel like I probably should. I mean, I'm just looking at it right now. I pulled up the site, and it looks like, I don't know, maybe there's 15 pictures showing up on their promotional page to like sign up for an account, and probably 4 of them are men outdoor kind of rugged looking things. So
you know what, like, just to give you even more relevant suggestions, every single episode of your podcast could have 5 different pins designed. Just, like a nice headline saying, okay, this podcast is about so and so, with a good picture in the background, 5 different versions of this, and you can pin that over and over again. And if you have 150 episodes, that's like 500 pins, and you can just schedule that in the tool. And that's another thing that I want to mention, by the way. So you can just put it on Pinterest. You might, it's some of the results that I've heard people achieving with Pinterest are incredible, like 40% increase or some ridiculous number like that.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I just created an account while we were sitting here. At least part of it, there's a couple of questions I got to go through, which it's probably too complicated for me to do. But yeah, it's pretty easy. So I am like 25% there, I think, towards creating an account on Pinterest. So I'm gonna try it out, and we'll see what happens with it. Even if I don't do anything with it, at least I'll have an account.
And also another thing, if I can mention, is many people find it overwhelming, managing all these accounts. So they do an Instagram because it's right there on their phone. They snap a quick photo and just put it on Instagram and stuff. Again, good quality makes a difference. Like, don't just post something quickly from your phone. Put it on your computer, edit it with the software nicely. Don't overdo it. Just make it a better photo, and then post it on Instagram. But if you find this overwhelming, and then you want to manage Pinterest and Facebook and everything else, you can manage, for example, Pinterest and Instagram with a tool that automates half of it. So it's still going to be your posts, it's still going to be your photos, it's still going to be your own writing and everything, your captions, but you're not going to have to go online and then do it every single day 3 times if you're going to post 3 times. Just there's different tools. The one I'm using is called Tailwind. By the way, all these tools that I'm mentioning are not sponsoring me. I'm just saying it because because these are really useful tools that helps me. So just literally just good information. And Tailwind is a tool that basically lets you schedule, and it's all partnered up. These tools are partnered up with the social media companies. So Pinterest and so this is all legitimate, and you're not going to get your account blocked if you use Tailwind, for example. I don't know about the other tools, but this is definitely an official tool. What you do is maybe you upload 10, 15, 20 of your photos. You write all the captions, you put your hashtags in there, and then with a click of a button, you schedule everything, and you're done for the rest of the week. And then you log in again on your phone a week later, you have, 300 more likes and followers or whatever.
Yeah.
So it just makes it really easy to manage, and get rid of the burden of, I have to manage this because I need sponsors, so I have to post every day. I post 3 times, and it's just too much work and it takes too much time. I'm not going to do it. And eventually you get tired of it and you're not going to do it.
Well, is Tailwind on your phone or is that on a computer?
It's both.
Oh, both. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. I've played around with some scheduling tools before, but they were probably lower end, not the best ones. Because that is definitely a frustration of people on the show. They're like,
it used to be for me as well.
You know, 7:00 p.m. on every Monday, I have to post this thing, but I'd rather be not doing that. And if you just block out some time when let's say you have time every Sunday night.
That's how I do it.
Oh, that's perfect.
I do one. I don't know. I don't have a set day, but I'm trying to do it like, upload enough photos for the next 5, 6, 7 days, and then do it all together, and it just makes it a lot easier.
No, that's perfect. And I think that's pretty actionable. That's one thing that I get a lot of positive feedback on these shows when the guests are like, here's something you can do like right now. You can look at Google Trends. You can look at this KW
This is really
tool.
easy to do as well.
Yeah. Yeah, you can use Tailwind, Pinterest. Looks like I'm step 7 of 8 in creating my Pinterest profile here right now. But
I'll follow you.
Yeah, perfect. There is, just so people know, like, as I'm getting into Pinterest, because I'm assuming if you're listening, you don't have much, like, knowledge of it. There's, like, topics that I picked a business profile, which is probably what other people might do too. But, choose topics that would best describe your business. There's technology, education, funny stuff. Harry Potter jokes, that's its own thing apparently. But then there's like sports cars, architecture. There's a whole bunch of stuff in here. So I don't even know. I think I think I might click sports cars right now. I don't know, but it's there's a lot of options. We'll just put it that way. But well, that's cool. I was not expecting us to get that much information out of that one question there. For people who don't know, that's like in the pre-interviews, I always tell the guests like, hey, I got this outline, but it's cool if we use it. It's cool if we don't use it. And we haven't really had to use it that much, which is good. But, we are kind of running out of time. So I might just ask you one more question in this section, and then we'll kind of just wrap things up, and maybe we'll come back on and do this again, because I feel like we got a lot more that we could talk about. And I know right now for you, it's what, 2:30 in the morning right now?
It is, yeah.
So,
oh, wow. An hour has been, okay.
Yeah,
that went quick.
Time flies. People, when they're asking me about the show, they're like, how long do you typically record for? I said, well, I schedule for an hour. Like, an hour? How are we going to fill up the content? And then, like, trust me, it goes by super quick. But I was going to ask about, we kind of alluded to it earlier, about how you've made some relationships with, these partners. I don't know, do you have one example that you can kind of walk us through where you've built a partnership with one of these supporters?
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Absolutely. So there's, I have a bunch of stories, but the main thing is one of the best relationships that I have is with the company I mentioned is Euro 4x4 parts. And as I said, they are main supplier of anything to do with off-roading, so parts and accessories and anything you need for off-roading in Europe. And they are based in France. And basically how it started, I bought a rooftop tent from them. Mm-hmm. And a year later, when I was planning my trips, I was like, why don't I reach out to them and say, and by then I had a website. I had the website running and I had some visitors and it looked all right. And, I had some content to show and good progress as well. So I sent them my analytics as well, like Google Analytics showing an upward trend, more visitors every month. And I said, oh, why don't I reach out to them and say, look, we're going to do this major trip to Singapore. Is going to take us, I don't know, more than half a year. I could put your sticker on our vehicle, and it's going to be a lot of followers and hopefully, and you get exposure through our videos and pictures, and I mention you on my blog as well. And as it turned out, they are actually sponsoring Overlanders all the time. And they immediately replied, yes, I remember you. Because I basically reached out to the same sales guy who turned out to be the head of marketing in Europe. Basically, he was selling rooftop tents to me at a Overland show in Europe, the biggest one in the world, which is in Germany. And turned out to be the sales guy, and he turned out to be the head of marketing and directed me to the relevant person who handles the extra sponsorships. Mm-hmm. And we ended up with a small deal, and we could spend an X amount of money in their web shop. And I just chose a few gear, and they sent it within a couple of weeks. And we had their sticker on our car, like a big sticker. And it shows in a lot of pictures and on our website as well. And then this year in August, we've done another trip to Italy and France, and they were in the biggest show in France in August, which we visited, like an off-road show, Overland, an off-road show. And we just met there. We spent 3 days with them this year. So the relationship is really, really, really good. It's not a huge sponsorship, but I'm just really glad they actually sponsor us with anything, you know?
Oh yeah, definitely.
And I'm really happy to support their brand, you know, spread the word about it. Because they were really nice to us. Their products are great, and it just works out for both of us.
You know, one thing that I just want to highlight here, because, you know, many of your examples have led back to this website hits and, you know, driving traffic to and from the website. And we talk about that in the show, and I just want to give a plug to everybody else that's listening. If you don't have a website, I really recommend getting one. You know, that's why we partner with TopThePodium.com. Jeff over there can create a website for you. He created my website too. And it's a repository for your content. So you own it, you control it. If Facebook changes, your content can change. If Instagram changes, your content can change. You know, you own your website, but you also get really good at analytics tools a lot of times, and you can tell sponsors like, hey, I did write a little blog post, or I did put up an article or something on my website, and 1,500 people visited it on last week Tuesday, and that's pretty valuable. It's just like if you were to say, hey, I had 300 likes on my Instagram post, you can say I had 300 people visit your page, your article, your something on the website. So I just wanted to highlight that again, because a number of the things that you've referenced that I think have gotten some of your sponsors excited is, I can get people looking at your stuff that I write about on my website.
Yeah, I totally agree. The website is just essential if you want to get sponsorship deals, and even small ones, you need to start somewhere. But if you don't have a website, there's nothing you can present as like, okay, look, this is me. This is where I can advertise you and such. So now, last year we reached out to, I think, and I think this is a whole new podcast, how we reached out to sponsors, but we reached out to a number of companies, but now we have emails coming in sometimes. Hey, Luke, do you want to look at our product, and do you maybe want to write an article about it? Do you want to put it on Instagram? And we just send you this free stuff. Yeah, it's great.
Right.
I mean, yeah, why not?
Right. Yeah, that's awesome. Well, you know what else is awesome is that we literally spent an entire hour talking through all this stuff. Barely even had a breath in between what we're talking about. We could go on, I think, for another hour without even blinking.
Easily.
But I gotta kind of wrap things up here.
Sure.
And you need to get to bed at some point. So I'm conscious of that. But I just want to give you another opportunity here to say, like, if there's one thing that our listeners need to take away from the show, what would that one thing be?
Right. I mean, just be consistent. So if you want to get traction on social media, be an influencer, or just get more visitors onto your website or Instagram or Pinterest or your Facebook page, just don't give up, because initially you're not going to see any traffic. Just be consistent, and it will be there at some point.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And
that's what I'd say.
I'll give you another opportunity to, tell us how we can best get a hold of you. So, whether it's Instagram or website, what are those connection points?
Sure. Yeah. Thank you. Our website is overlandsite.com. Please link to us if you're listening, and you have a website on your own. Just link to us, basically, please. And Instagram is also Overland Site, and anybody can reach out to us on both platforms, and I'd be happy to have a chat. I'll be happy to help anybody if you want more information on how to handle social media, or how to set up a website or anything like that.
Yeah, perfect.
And I'd be also happy to learn from somebody who knows more.
No, it's perfect. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to chat tonight, especially I know it's weird staying up this late and based off our different time zones to make this work, but I appreciate
No, thank
it.
you.
And I had a good time. I definitely, like, my mind is blown. I got a page of notes here. I got a partially created Pinterest site right now. Like, I need to process all this, which is great. But again, just really appreciate you taking the time. But I'm going to leave you with this at this point. Have fun and ride safe.
Oh, brilliant. That was awesome.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Sponsored Rider Club podcast, which is powered by 4Wheel Parts. I want you to make sure that you are subscribed to this show, whether it's on iTunes or Google Play or Stitcher or wherever you listen to podcasts. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss upcoming guests and upcoming episodes. And then follow us on social media. We're on all of the platforms. You can find out the most content, though, on our Facebook page. That's where we do our live videos. To get some insider access to upcoming guests, you can also check out the Sponsored Rider Club on Facebook. It is a support network where you can ask questions about best practices and get feedback from our audience. A special thanks goes out to our sponsors, 4Wheel Parts, AMSOIL, SolderWeld, Bold Racing, TopThePodium.com, and Crash Addict Industries. And I also want to shout out some of our other partners, MBRP, HMK USA, Studboy Traction, and High Octane Coffee. I look forward to serving you again next week. Until then, have fun and ride safe.